What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. I'm your host, Joel Waldman, and this is an STS special. Before we start, just make sure to smash the like and subscribe button, and let's get into this episode. We're focusing on Jeff Lacasse. He was a key witness in Charlie Adelson's trial and is an ex-boyfriend of Wendi Adelson. Wendi Adelson, of course, is the ex-wife of Dan Markell. Dan Markell, well, he was a beloved FSU law professor, a loving father of two young boys. Dan and Wendi split, and after their divorce, they were involved in a tense custody battle over their two boys. It was during this time that Jeff Lacasse was dating Wendi Adelson. It was also during this time that Dan Markell was shot and killed after pulling into his driveway. It was a murder-for-hire plot. Dan was taken to the hospital on July 18, 2014, succumbing to his injuries the next day. His next-door neighbor caught a glimpse of a car. Investigators and police immediately responded to the scene, and they spent many months investigating what happened to find out exactly who knew what and when. This is Jeff Lacasse's police interview from March 6, 2015. That's 8 months after Dan Markell's murder. Jeff and Wendi had already broken up, and during this interview, Jeff sheds more light on the Adelsons, on Wendi, on Charlie, and what happened to Dan Markell.
So we dated casually in the fall. She just got divorced, so had I actually. And at the time, I came in here before, I thought Markell was a dick. That's what I had been taught by Wendi. Over time, I realized I was kind of misled. But in the fall, it was interesting. Let me start. Danny had been describing Wendi as a pathological liar and a mentally ill narcissistic sociopath in a semi-joking manner, but
to you?
To other people. I just heard that through the grapevine. Because people said, be careful with Wendi. She's a little unbalanced. And I said, well, she seems upset about her divorce, but I don't know if she's unbalanced. I didn't take it seriously at the time. That sounds strange, right? I thought these two people having a nasty divorce. He's calling names. I thought it was totally out of line. It's one of the reasons I was upset with him, because you see in the court documents, he got sick of her and really went after her legally in a really aggressive way, and not knowing the background. I thought it was inappropriate. I thought it was taking things too far, trying to disbar your ex-wife. But one impression I'm left with is, I don't think I said this before, in December or January, I thought that was totally out of line. By May, I don't know if those are technically the correct words, but by May, I knew exactly what he was talking about. And this is a very troubled person, Wendi Adelson, deeply troubled person. And at first, she's gorgeous, she's smart, she's funny. I fell for this girl like a ton of bricks. Most men would. That was one reason I stuck around too long. But just an overall impression of her. And Danny says this in court documents, actually. She's a very manipulative person, a pathological liar. Wendi was an alcoholic while I was with her. She drank her dinner most nights. Extremely fragile, extremely depressed. Many, many nights sitting, hated Tallahassee so much that thought we're a bunch of country bumpkins, but we liked Tallahassee because she's from Miami. Didn't hide that fact. Thought it was bizarre that I moved here from Phoenix. And the two conversations that we had every single day for 9 months were, Danny is an evil monster. Tallahassee is the worst place in the world to live, and I can't believe I got stuck here because of Danny Markell. She was obsessed with those two concepts. So I got really tired of hearing that, but I heard that every day for 9 months. Wendy's very manipulative in that she plays the victim very, very easily. Whenever we got into a confrontation, she'd pour me. Very sensitive that I work with DV victims, women that have been raped as a social worker, all that kind of stuff. So I'm a sensitive Mr. Rogers kind of guy. So it's a very easy way to manipulate me, or Markell for that matter. But she just wasn't stable even in the fall, and able to cover it up here or there. One of these people, the first 100 hours you spend with her, you think she's amazing. 101 on, you're like, shit, what did I get myself into here? This person's kind of crazy.
You talk a little fast for me.
I'm sorry.
100 hours?
Yeah, first 100 hours you think she's amazing. Then after that, wait a second, there's some tremendous flaws here. So she puts on a very good public face. It's accomplished, beautiful, smart, funny woman. total. I was with her 4 or 5 nights a week for 7 or 8 months total, I would say, more in the spring than the fall. And she was deeply troubled. She was on psychiatric medications, and in March she decided to come off of those.
March of 14.
March 14th, spring break, Immokalee, actually, that's when she went off. And this will make sense about why this matters. I don't want to give you BS or all the information, but she's already a sensitive person, so much that you couldn't say to her, like, hey, I'd appreciate it if you'd be a little more considerate to me. You're being kind of, she'd break down crying for 2 hours. And she would throw a tantrum. I've never seen anything like it. Anybody I've ever dated, I've dated some pretty crazy women. So, and then when she went up to SSRIs, it went from being fragile to being, she had no resilience. She would just melt down in an absolute second.
For over what?
Anything. Any kind of criticism.
Oh, if you had given her criticism.
Or anybody did anything negative. I've seen her lose her shit over, cake going bad in the oven, and she's devastated for 6 hours. This was in the spring. So this was like the state she was in as we approached the time of the crime. So I'll skip the whole thing where we date the first 6 months. It was, she played hard to get. I chased her. And eventually she agreed to be my girlfriend. We go to spring break. She starts coming off the SSRIs. Things start getting pretty weird in terms of, we had a couple, first time we spent a week together, you know how that is. Of course, you're going to have a minor thing. You're going to find out who this person really is, and she just found it devastating. And a couple of times I called her on, she's very narcissistic. And a couple of times, like, I'm here too, just basic stuff like that. But she would just lose her mind over that kind of stuff. So if I just fast forward to spring break on, so I can skip all my bullshit and just tell you what's pertinent to the crime, I think. She starts coming off those SSRIs March 12th or 13th.
March 12th?
12th or 13th is when she started. So that was spring break, like almost a year ago.
Oh, 2014.
2014, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So March 12th and 13th, you all in Immokalee?
Yeah, that week we're in Immokalee.
And that's for this retreat
for
students?
Alternative spring break, yes. Sir.
And you traveled with you took her with you.
She took me with her, actually. Yeah. It was her as a law school thing, and I just went along to help her out.
Oh, I thought it was because you're in social work.
Yeah, it's actually a law thing. They just wanted to bring a social work prof, and I was one, so we went. So
okay, so these students that are going to this alternative spring break are law students.
They were. It's a med students, yeah. So exactly. But one of the reasons I went with her is she's very childlike, very much like a 13-year-old girl. I don't know if she could have handled it on her own. I had to do an awful lot of things for her. Her parents, if you investigated, you'd probably see them. She needs to be taken care of. She's such a fragile person. When she would travel to Miami, her mom would drive or fly up here and then go down with her every single time. And
she didn't travel on her own?
No. It's so weird. And at first I thought, what overbearing parents. And then over time, I'm like, I don't want to go on spring break by herself either. She's won't be able to handle it. She'll lose her shit,
Jeff Lacasse also met Charlie Adelson. Charlie has since been convicted back in November of 2023 in the murder of Dan Markell. But at the time of this interview, and when Jeff had met Charlie, he was still a free man, a periodontist living large in Miami, and to him, it was Wendy's older brother.
So February, March, I think she was cheating on me, all kinds of stuff like that. But
this is that other Daniel guy.
Daniel Sack, yeah. Among others. I think I'll get to that in a minute. There's a long list, and I don't know how many of them you guys have considered. But as far as seeing stuff pertinent to the crime, I met her brother Charlie when I was down there in Miami for Immokalee. You may recall that I said I found him to be a very strange person, very aggressive, verbally. He takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Wait a minute, back up a second.
Yeah, he takes sex tourism trips to South America to have sex with underage prostitutes.
Sex tourism?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, South America.
I'm kind of a sheltered guy.
Well, I was shocked not only that he would tell people he did that, but that he would tell his younger sister. That was strange to me. Very odd. And there's this odd dynamic between them. The whole family is real weird. Most people that spend time with them say this, social workers, I consider incest in this family. There's violence in this family. Something's up with this family. But I mentioned to you that he talked in the hot tub about punishing a girl by anally violating her in front of Wendi and I, like bragging about the fact that he'd hurt this girl because she had got him in uncomfortable situations. So he came off like an offender to me. He came off like a, kind of sociopathic. Like, this is strange. He just met me. He's telling me this. It was really, really weird.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. I'm just trying to rein you in a little bit so I can make sure I get it right.
Yeah,
I do recall something about a hot tub.
Yeah.
But I think it may have been something I read from Corey Hale's report.
It might have been. Yeah, I talked to him.
But are you saying you're in the hot tub after the Immokalee retreat?
Exactly. We went from Immokalee to Miami and hung out with their brother.
Okay. So you're in Miami at his place, I guess?
Exactly. It's very well. It's a really nice house in Miami Beach area.
Miami Beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're there and you're in the hot tub.
Yeah.
She's in the hot tub.
Yeah.
And the brother Charlie's in the hot tub.
Yeah.
But Charlie Adelson's interaction with Jeff wasn't the only thing that stood out to him. It was Wendi's behavior leading up to the hit on Dan Markell.
So, fast forward to April. She's coming off the SSRIs. Her behavior is
coming
off the antidepressants.
Okay.
So, I study that. That's my area. I study psychiatric medications.
Right.
So
I just got to be able to explain it. If this ever goes anywhere else, I got to be explained so I understand it and the layperson can understand.
I understand. So yeah, she's coming off psych meds, but she's doing that against my advice. Not with the help of a clinician. You're supposed to go to a doctor, have them help you get off. She did not do that. And she's dropping her dosage very, very rapidly, which is usually recommended to take some time and go slow. She's on a very high dose of Lexapro, like double the normal dose. And so in this time period, one of the reasons I stuck around, even though it was so crazy, was I thought it might be a passing thing because I thought she was having withdrawal effects. Some of the physical ones like dizziness and stuff like that. But sometimes people's behavior gets really weird in that, so you give them a break while they're coming off. So I was giving her a break.
What is the Lexapro for?
It's for depression. She was diagnosed as depressed. And her dad, the dentist, was writing her scripts to what she shouldn't be doing to help her come down the dosage. Because you want to switch to the liquid so you can slowly go down. But she ignored all my advice. I was constantly, you may have seen this in the emails if you looked at it, I was constantly cautioning her, texting her saying, you need to go slow, slow, slow. I made her get a therapist. I said, I'm not going to even talk to you about this unless you at least have somebody you're talking to that can monitor your mental health, because I saw she was just spinning out of control. And she wasn't that controlled to begin with, but it was getting worse. Her drinking was really increasing in April. And she had times where she's just losing her mind. I mean, with the kids in the house, drinking a bottle and a half of wine by herself, falling down in the bathroom, bruises. I had a photo trip to Chicago when I came back. I had to go right from the airport to the house because she was just doing so poorly. So she was just not well. Fast forward to May. We have that incident in the coffee shop that we discussed that Officer Hale and me were, I assume that's one of the reasons you guys were interested in talking to me in the first place. But just to remind you, I just walked into All Saints Coffee and there's my girlfriend with another guy. There's no stalking. And she knew that.
But there's been no complaint of stalking against you.
There has been informally. She tells people this.
But I'm saying there's no.
Oh, no formal way.
You shouldn't have been contacted from anybody from this department for a complaint about it.
No, never. I'm not worried about that. I didn't bring an attorney because I didn't do anything.
Right.
I'm not worried about it. But that was a big deal in our relationship. And,
right, because you see her there and she's with this guy and you don't know who the guy is. Maybe I got that wrong. You knew that she was seeing a guy?
That's one of the things that concerned me is that she would bring him up from time to time. And there was other signs. I mean, there's, I think, 5 to 10 other men. I was in denial about it in this time period. That's not a crime, obviously, but she's very impulsive, very erratic, doesn't think things through. She will do them and then worry about the consequences later. She was remarkably sloppy about cheating on me in terms of, that's what was interesting. Up until about early June, she was covering her tracks pretty well, actually. I'd heard of Daniel Sack. I knew he was an ex-boyfriend. But after that fight, we had not a huge fight, we had a mild fight about that. And things started to get really, really strange. And this is what I think I had a hard time getting across to Investigator Hale. So we have that fight. She goes to Portland for a weekend. She comes back. It's now June. In June, I was walking around saying to all my friends, I don't know what is going on. Something is going on. We had that very frank talk about that and decided to stay together. She said, it's one guy. He's gone. He literally moved out of the area, as you probably know. Sac, yeah. So I said, okay. One thing about Wendi is this is where I worry about the crime. She's very easily influenced. She doesn't have much of a sense of self. When she was with Danny, she kind of became Danny's extension of Danny, attached herself to him. She didn't attach herself to Sac. He was into polyamory and having multiple partners. He's bisexual. So she started doing all this crazy stuff. Sac was encouraging her, from what she said, to have sex with lots of people, not just him. I worry about her. So I've just seen her, and doesn't want to be controlled, but she does want to be controlled. She can do a lot of sex stuff and things where she wants to be told what to do. And one of the things I worry about is that somebody came up with this idea and she went along with it because she doesn't know how to say no. She hates confrontation, things like that. So in June, I was walking around saying to my friends, I don't know what's going on. It's just uncanny to think back on it now. So I don't know what's going on, but something's gonna happen. It feels like there's drum beats. It feels like we're moving towards something. It's really, really strange. I don't know what's going on.
Dan Markell was shot on July 18th, 2014, succumbing to his injuries the next day. But that week is critically important. It's the week that Jeff Lacasse had planned on taking Wendi out of town, but that never happened.
One of the strange things that happened was we had a trip to California scheduled to see my parents the week that Danny was killed. And in early June, she rescheduled that trip. And I said, what's the problem with the trip? She says, well, I'm worried we'll get stuck in the airport and we won't be back on Friday. I have to pick up the kids from school. And I said, but we're coming back Thursday night. It's not winter. I'm not going to in the winter. I would understand. There's no way we're going to get stuck. We can rent a car. We have transient babies. That's strange. I said, fine, cancel the trip.
And that was going to be in early June?
The trip was going to be the week that Danny was killed.
Oh, okay. That was the trip?
11th to 19th was supposed to be the trip. So we had a trip planned, and she was real strange about the fact that we had to reschedule this trip. It just didn't make sense. And I even said, if you just don't want to go because you don't feel comfortable right now, just tell me. That's cool. She goes, no, I have to pick up the kids from school that day. I just have to. I don't want to do anything to stop that. And she said, I'll miss the kids at that point. I said, okay. A couple of days later, I say, well, she said, but I want to spend that time with you. I was leaving for Tennessee on Friday. She said, I want to spend that Monday through Thursday with you. I said, great. Do you want to go to St. Augustine? She loves the beach. She hates Tallahassee. This, again, is just very strange and suspicious to me. Wendi Adelson tells me, what I want to do is a staycation. I want to stay home in Tallahassee. I said, you want to stay in Tallahassee the hottest week of the year? She goes, yeah, we'll go to Tom Brown Park. We'll do this. I said, you hate it here. I'm offering to take you away. Why wouldn't you? It's just really strange at the time. I remember saying to my friends, like, Wendi wants, people laugh. I said, Wendi says she wants to stay in Tallahassee. She leaves town. Sure, every chance she gets, she leaves town. Why would she want to stay? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I finally managed to convince her to do a trip to St. Augustine, but we had to schedule it so that we were back basically by the time of the shooting. So that was just strange. It was peculiar at the time. When we scheduled that trip to St. Augustine, I was sitting her, she has her calendar open. You have to schedule everything with her. That's just how she was. It was just, at the time, I remember sitting in her office trying to schedule this, and there's this weirdness about that weekend. We're scheduling other things, no problem. But that weekend, she just was intent on. That day meant something to me before Danny was shot. Like, there's something weird about that week. I don't know what it is. There's something weird about that week. If we keep going through June, other things I noticed in June that were really crazy.
Let me back up a second so I get this right.
Yeah.
July 11th through 19th, you're supposed to go to California.
Yeah.
Leave on the 11th, come back on the 19th.
I can look it up for you. It might be 12th to 19th, but it was the week that Danny was shot. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when is she saying, I can't do it? What date? What date are we talking about when she's telling you I can't?
Early June. I can pull up exactly.
Early June.
Early June. Yeah.
So you're supposed to go to California with her, just you two.
We have plane tickets purchased. And she sat me down. I think it was June 5th or 7th. I will find out for you if you would like.
Yeah.
And she just said, I can't do that. And it just didn't make sense. Just didn't make any sense.
So she'd already said that date was that window of.
She said, this is the 1 week I have to go see your parents. And I
11th
said,
through the 19th.
but that was in May we booked that. Then we have the fight. I find out about Danielle's sack. And afterwards she says, I feel comfortable with that. She just had an appointment with her therapist. And she said, my main concern is I want to be able to see the kids on that day. The day that Danny was shot. We had people volunteering to babysit if they needed to, if we were delayed. We weren't going to be delayed. And she insisted it was not because she didn't want to go with me. She wanted to spend that week with me. She just wanted to spend that week with me in Tallahassee. She did not want to leave Tallahassee that week.
Jeff told authorities that it all seemed real weird, but he didn't know what would happen that week. So he kept trying, coming up with other vacation plans that never happened.
And I mean, there's 3 different times. There's that time, then there's the staycation thing where I'm like, what are you talking about? That's bizarre. And then there was which we scheduled the trip to St. Augustine. And fast forward a little bit, and we had the trip to St. Augustine planned until July 15th or 16th, and she canceled that the last second. So 3 different times she canceled plans with me in the 2 or 3 day period with Daniel.
What you're leading to is this is highly suspicious that she needs to be here on the 18th of July.
Yeah, just anecdotally, subjectively, whatever it's worth, it was really weird. It was really strange. I know this woman. I know her really well. And there was something at the time, me saying to my friends, what's going on? It's just really, really strange. It's just really.
She'd never done anything like this before?
No, she had canceled and recanceled, and she did that all the time. Completely disorganized person. But it usually made sense. It usually had a reason. And usually the reason was something about court with Danny or the parents wanted to come down to South Florida. Every other time but this, I understood. This time I was completely puzzled. It didn't make sense. And it was very, very strange.
Okay, so she cancels this trip to California. Did you go anyway? No, of course you did. You were okay.
Wish I had.
Yeah. And so what happens to these plane tickets?
Her ticket, I have no idea.
So she bought her own?
Yeah, we bought separate plane tickets. As a matter of fact, I don't know that she did buy a plane ticket.
Oh.
But she told me she did.
Same airline? Same flight?
I can find out for you. I can send you my reservation. Because we had a discussion about getting our seats moved together. So I think she probably bought a ticket, actually. But I never saw the ticket.
It wasn't discussed any further?
I can't recall.
Okay, so that's the first thing. In early June, she says, Jeff, I got to be back on that Friday the 18th.
Exactly.
To pick up the kids. I guess that's going to be the first of her week with the kids, maybe?
Yeah, she gets the kids back after having, because they went to 7-day schedule in the summer.
Right.
And she's going, I'll miss the kids. I said, we'll be back. It's not, if you don't want to go, just tell me I don't want to go. No, I want to go. I just got to be back for the kids. There's a special.
Okay, why not adjust the flight or just the.
Well, she had the kids the previous week. This was her one free week. She's also booked all summer.
Well, the 18th is a Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so, going backwards, the 11th should have been a Thursday, I'm thinking.
I could look it up, but it just wasn't. She was booked week by week throughout the summer.
She doesn't even have any school stuff, right? I mean, I don't know if you're off during that time.
No, I'm completely off. She has a lot of obligations to her parents. Her parents want her down in Miami every chance she gets. All through this town, and there's parents. All right, so three different occasions. This at the time, it's like, what's going on with the 18th of July or the week of the 18th? What is this? I don't understand what this is.
Okay, so the first thing is the California trip, and it's next.
Yes.
Then you want to take her to St. Augustine.
And she wants to stay, and that's just bizarre.
But did you ever make plans to go to St. Augustine?
Yeah, so a week later, again, we sat in front of the calendar, and it was really strange. There was this hesitancy about that weekend. She says, I'll go to St. Augustine. We have to be back early on Friday.
Early on Friday.
Early on Friday.
What is early on Friday now?
We were going to wake up and come straight back from St. Augustine, so we would have got up at 7, been here by 9 or 10.
Okay.
She had the kids from school till 4. Didn't make sense.
Okay.
So I said fine, and my thing was I was going to drop her off and then drive up to Atlanta. I was going to drop her off and go. So that was just strange. It just stuck in my head. Like, what?
Because your trip to your friend up in Tennessee, what was the date you were supposed to go?
I was supposed to leave at about 10 or 11 a.m. on Friday the 18th.
Okay.
Because I was supposed to the original trip was to go straight to Atlanta, stay the night in Atlanta, then go up to Tennessee the next day. So I was supposed to leave here at 10 or 11 and get there at 4 or 5.
On Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon. Yeah,
Okay.
that changed. But that was the original.
No, because you left on Thursday.
Yeah, I did.
All right, well, let's jump to that so I can fill in this blank.
Yeah.
Why did you leave on Thursday?
We'd had a huge fight in late June. I discovered some of their cheating. I was very upset with her. And she had sent me had sort of broken up, basically. But she put me on a 7-day hold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I remember that.
yeah.
She sent you an email or something?
Exactly. So the night before, I was so upset. I was just like, fuck this, I'm going. I just could get out of town. I was upset. But that's something my friends have said to me that I've never said this, but my friends have said, Jeff, because sometimes it's hard for me to see this clearly. They can see it more clearly. Jeff, you do realize that if you left Friday at 11 a.m. for Atlanta, what this would have looked like, you would have been in custody. You're really.
Oh.
Now, I'm not saying that, but some of my friends, it was like a clumsy attempt to take attention off her, put it on me. I'm not saying that's true. It sounds a little far-flung to me. It sounds a little clumsy to me. But she knew exactly when I was going to leave. I'm a late riser, and she didn't know I changed my plans, obviously. So I'm glad I changed my plans. I wouldn't blame you guys for being a little more suspicious if you didn't. I mean, if I leave at 11, I don't get a flat tire. You just see me driving north 10 minutes after Danny's show. So that looks suspicious to a lot of people. I know it makes it sound like a criminal mastermind. It may sound crazy to you, but that's what my friends say.
Looking back now, Jeff Lacasse said things back then that make a whole lot more sense. One thing he always knew about Wendi was how much she hated Tallahassee and how she made it abundantly clear she could not leave because of Dan Markell.
In June, these are just my impressions, but there was 5 or 6 times in June I'm playing with the kids. We had a good family life, terrible romantic relationship because she was cheating me all the time. But I'm home with the kids with her, nice family life.
You had her house out on
Every time, yeah.
Cameron.
Exactly, off Aqua Ridgewood, yeah, nice house. So 4 or 5 times in late June, I'm playing with the kids, reading them stories. I was very close to Ben in particular, spent a lot of time with those children. And I look out of the corner of my eye, and Wendi would be in the kitchen crying for no reason whatsoever. And at the time, what it looked like to me is she's like taking it all in, and she looked like she was grieving something. And I would say, "What's wrong?" And she'd say, "Nothing's wrong," or make up some bullshit story. She lied so much, it was hard to know. But in retrospect, it makes me worry a lot because it looked like she was wrestling with something. It wasn't suspicious, it was just weird. But in retrospect, it's like, wow, let's assume she knew something was going to happen. That's how a person might react, She made a choice, but
That's late June.
That's late June. So that happened enough times that I talked to my friends about it. Also in June, Wendy's a pretty good liar if you get in front of her for an hour or 2 at a time. And Danny's put that in court documents. It's not a secret that she lies a lot. It's how she navigates the world. But she has a problem with her lying in that I found out she cheated on me with Daniel Sack because she kind of accidentally told me by talking about him all the time, and she's just sloppy. So longitudinally, she couldn't keep her story straight. In the short term, 4 hours, 8 hours at a time, okay. Over a month, saying, "What about that thing?" The stories start, but she talks constantly. She's very extroverted, very narcissistic, very focused on herself, very self-involved. Well, what she was talking about in June, relocation to Miami, how terrible it was to be stuck in Tallahassee, crying like I got stuck here, I didn't choose this, I can't stand it. And she talked about the fact that the only way she could ever relocate is if something happened to Danny.
Does she actually say that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
This is the first time you've mentioned that.
I don't think so. I think I did mention that to Investigator Hale.
Okay.
I think I did. Well, no, it wasn't. I had 3 interviews with Investigator Hale. And
okay.
The next 2 was me trying to tell him things like this. I don't think he was hearing me.
Okay.
So, no, she didn't say I killed Danny. You didn't say that word for word. But it was, because I was saying, hey, we're about to like get serious here. Are you going to be here? Because she hated it so much. I need to know what's going to happen. And she's like, well, the only way that, let me give you the context. The only way I could leave is if something happened to Danny. But if that did happen, that would be a tough decision. I would probably need to go back to Miami to be with my parents. So that scenario came from her, but it was a response to a question from me. So, I mean, I guess I need to be fair about that one.
Sure.
But it was, and it's true, right? I mean, it was, I asked if Danny might move with her. She said she would not be willing to do that. But she was talking about that.
She would not be willing to do that?
No, she didn't. Well, Danny had job offers from all over the country constantly, and she didn't want to live in Houston or St. Louis or things like that. I mean, she was miserable here. She was here just because she came with Danny. She didn't like her job. She didn't like the area. She didn't like split custody. I don't know that people knew how upset she was.
And now, knowing that Dan was murdered in July of 2014, around the same time Wendi and Jeff were having these conversations, there's one moment in particular Jeff Lacasse remembers with Wendi about her brother Charlie and her ex-husband Dan.
I mentioned to you before you came into the room when I said this, but this is the time period. I don't know the exact day. I'm so distracted by relationship stuff, I can't quite remember. But she told me that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious. I wish to God I'd follow up on that at the time, trying to figure out us. And I thought, well, Charlie's crazy. I can imagine that. But certainly he's not crazy enough to do that. So I didn't worry about it.
That's your interpretation.
It's not mine.
No. Let's back up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into the context of your conversation with her where that comes up about Charlie.
Please.
So
she just she's talking about Danny. She is completely.
Where are we at?
We're at her house in the living room in late June.
In late June of 2013.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah,
I'm sorry, 2014.
Yeah, late June. And you know what? This might have even been. This is sometime between June 20th and the Monday before Danny was shot.
Okay.
And I want to say it was right before, but I don't trust my memory on that, the date. And she's talking about Danny because it's all she ever talked about. Danny wasn't a human being. He was Satan.
He was what?
He was Satan.
Satan, okay.
Yeah. And what was real strange about this was that in January, February, March, they had a lot of court stuff, and I could see why she'd be so pissed off at Danny. Danny had calmed down. He liked his new girlfriend. The judge had read him the riot act in court when they went to court the one time and told the other attorney, you need to calm your client down and stop having your client write his own legal briefs. I'm sick of reading this crap. Danny was going to get his butt handed to him by the court, and Wendi was going to have to concede a couple things, but she was going to win, everybody thought. And he had calmed down. He really had. So I was trying to say, we could talk about Danny a little less. Danny's chill. Danny's happy with Amy. This is good. This is good for us, I was starting to see Danny a little more realistically at that point. So she's in the middle of these conversations. She's just ranting and raving about Danny. Very angry with Danny. She's very sensitive. And worst thing you could do for Wendi is point out that she's not perfect. And that's what Danny represented to her is, say, you're a liar. Things like that. Anyway, she just comes out of the blue and I said, well, I just wish something. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, this isn't going to ever be fixed in the way you want it. You're linked to this man for your life. There's no fix for this that you have to fix, what you think and feel. And she said, well, Charlie did look into having him killed last summer. He said it would cost about $15,000.
$15,000?
That's right. It seems cheap to me, but you would know better than I. And
it's I want to make sure I understand this completely.
Please.
So June, what was the date?
Between June 20th and March 14th, let's say. I think it's probably I think it's closer to July. Between June 20th and July 14th. I think it's closer to July 14th.
Okay. She says, Charlie
Charlie did actually look into having him killed last summer.
last summer.
And he was told it would cost $15,000. And what if Charlie's
This is just paraphrased, but I want to make sure I
Yeah,
understand. Charlie did look into having
Danny killed last summer? It would cost about $15,000, and that's not exactly word for word, but that's pretty close to what she said. Wish to God I had followed up. But how do you respond to that? What do you say?
What did you say?
I changed the subject to us. I was interested in working our relationship out.
Did she ever bring that up again?
No. Never again. But what worries me is that the speech pattern, I'm not trying to play FBI profiler here, but it's kind of similar to when she would say, Daniel Sack and I had coffee yesterday. Well, that means her Daniel Sack had sex. So that's what that means. That's how she lies. So the fact that she would leak a little bit of it out scares me.
Which is kind of like I told you half a truth instead of half a lie.
That's how she lies. That's exactly. I'm sure you've got that on anyway. So it doesn't have the impulse control just to say nothing in high stress situations, but gives you this half-assed version. Yeah. So I thought about that a lot.
But you do remember the amount is 15,000.
I do remember that.
No further than that, nothing else.
There's nothing else. I wish I followed up. I beat myself up about this.
No, you didn't.
What am I gonna do? Call you guys? Say my girlfriend said something crazy? I don't know.
Charlie Adelson went on trial for the murder of Dan Markell in November of 2023 and testified. He said that the money trail showed a double extortion, not a murder for hire story. He claimed he was innocent, but after just about 3 hours, including dinner, the jury found him guilty on all counts. Prosecutors argued that Charlie, through the help of a former girlfriend, Katie Magbanawa, the middlewoman, was put in touch with Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia. They're the driver and the hitman who took Dan out. All of them are now behind bars. The next co-conspirator to go on trial is the matriarch of the family, Donna Adelson. She's the grandmother of Dan and Wendy's sons, and who some refer to as the mastermind behind this murder for hire plot. Now, all eyes are on the Leon County Courthouse as Donna Adelson goes to trial August 19th for the murder of her ex-son-in-law. STS is going to air the trial gavel to gavel, and I'll be in Tallahassee with daily updates. Thank you, STS Nation. Thanks for being here. I always say we've got the best guests in true crime, but an even better community. And let's remember, this is what justice is all about. Love you, America.